So I must be on a racing kick or something. I was looking at my game list thinking, I haven't reviewed an NES game in a few weeks. I wanted to do something quick. I looked behind me to see what was in my Retron 5 and lo and behold, Rad Racer, an old school arcade racer. Perfect. Rad Racer has no story that I know of, so I'll just move right on to the gameplay. The whole point of the game is to race your Ferrari or F1 car from point A to point B, passing checkpoints along the way and hitting the finish line before the timer runs out. It may sound simple, but I can assure you, it's not. Again, you have two vehicles to choose from at the start of the game. One is a Ferrari, the other is an F1 race car. There's no stat differences between the two, so it's literally just for looks. The only other difference is that if you're playing as the Ferrari, other vehicles on the road will be normal cars. But if you choose the F1, then the opposing vehicles will all be other F1 racers. The other oddity is that once you choose a vehicle, the only way to change it is to reset the game. If you get a game over and try again, you get the same vehicle that you chose at the beginning. It's a minor thing, but still kind of strange. Once you pick a car, you get a short map of the stage with all the checkpoints marked for you. Past this screen, you begin the race. From here, you want to hit checkpoints to increase your time allotment, then get to the finish line. The game is entirely linear, with no deviating paths or shortcuts, so you can memorize the track if needed. The controls are simple enough to keep you on the road. A is your gas, and B is your brake. If you have 3D glasses, you can press select to activate the 3D mode, but of course I never have, since 3D gives me a headache fairly quickly. So far, the game probably sounds simple, but here's where it gets difficult: the turning and the opposing cars. First, the turns. As you drive, you'll see many signs and obstacles on the side of the road. You'll want to keep an eye out for signs that are signifying that there is a turn up ahead. When you see one, you'll want to prepare to possibly need to brake if you're traveling at fast speeds. This is because if you don't, you can easily veer off the side of the road. And this is really dangerous because if you hit an obstacle that litters the shoulder, your car will crash and vault through the air, doing somersaults until it stops. Once that happens, your car will waste more time and be centered back on the road. Usually, crashing will eat up anywhere between 4 to 10 valuable seconds, and in later races, one bad accident can mean failure. Now, I get that when you crash into a tree or something that you'll wreck. It's one of those derp things that you do expect. But why don't I just drive right through simple street signs? How does one of these flip a frickin' Ferrari 50 feet in the air? And what about these little piles of rocks on the Grand Canyon stage? I can't just blow those apart? Oh well. If you grew up in an NES era, you probably heard that when you crash, you can spam the start button to decrease the speed that the timer counts down. Honestly, I've always called that bull. I've tried many times, but I've never noticed a difference. I'm not about to sit here and go over statistics and experiments to truly test it, but I'm just saying, I don't believe it. The other main obstacle, other than the time of course, is the other racers. In the first few tracks, they aren't so bad, but in later stages they become much more aggressive, constantly changing lanes to make sure that you don't have a passing lane, or even forcing you to slow down. This is because if you strike them from the side, you will get flung uncontrollably to either side of the vehicle. This will many times result in a crash, because you might get thrown into a sign or tree or something. Since you are just racing a clock, you don't need to be too aggressive yourself, since there's no position requirements or anything. Just beat the clock and that's it. There is a trick that you can do to help speed up though. If you hold down the up button while hitting the gas, once you hit about 90 kilometers an hour, you'll activate a turbo, allowing you to speed up much quicker than simply holding down A. This will allow you to get to the maximum speed of 255 kph much quicker. However, it also comes at a risk. If you rear end another car while going at insane speeds with the turbo activated, you might crash. If you're going the same speeds and hit someone while not utilizing the turbo, you just slow down. So if you think you may crash into another car, at least let go of the turbo to try minimizing the damage you take. So let's say you run out of time. Not all is lost. You do have one final trick up your sleeve. Once the timer reaches 0, your gas will be disabled, but you can still steer your vehicle as your speed dwindles to a complete stop. If you manage to coast your way to a checkpoint, or even the finish line, the game will continue as normal. It's a sweet system, and it's a fair way to attempt to keep going. Keep in mind there's no continues unless you use a cheat, however, so using this last chance at getting a time bonus is extremely important to utilize. There's really all there is to the gameplay. Each stage has some minor graphical changes, like different backdrops, layouts, day to night cycles, etc. But they all play the same, in which you go from start to finish and try to beat the clock. But that's what makes the game fun. It's easy to learn, but hard to master. In fact, it took me many years for me to finally get good at even the first race. When I used to rent this game back in the day, I think I made it to stage 3 once, and every other attempt at level 1 resulted in failure. The trick is the braking. You need to learn when to use it and when to just coast or even stay on the gas. Later races introduce the more frustrating opposing vehicles, but you can still get the hang of them fairly easily, and then it's just paying attention to the track. There's not much in regards to the music of the game, but there's 3 tracks you can listen to, cycle through by pressing down. Now, keep in mind, I was using the Xbox controller while recording this since I don't currently have a device to record from my Retron, and my NES isn't working. But I remember having this problem using the NES controller too. It's way too easy to accidentally switch the music track. As you're racing and pressing left and right, you might accidentally hit down, which will abruptly stop the track you're listening to and start the next one. I don't see why they didn't make select the track switcher and make 3D an option in a menu or something, but of course I didn't design the game and apparently 3D glasses were all the rage back then. Truthfully, I think that's all I have for Rad Racer. Yeah, I never finished the game, but I still enjoy it all the time, and I keep coming back to attempt it again. The graphics are basic but do the job for the era it was created in. The music, although difficult to stay on one track, is good enough, and the tracks have enough frantic turns and speedy straightaways to keep you on the edge of your seat. Overall, I'd say check out this rad game. Yeah, I said it. Final score? 8 out of 10. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.